need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
To read your questions. The first question is coming all the way from Tennessee, and Stephanie is writing. She says, Betsy, I'm interested to know what you think of wallpaper murals. I've included an image of one I like from Wallism. I'm wondering if something like this will look stunning in my living room or if it will constrain me too much in other choices I make for the room. I've included 2 murals I'm considering. So guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to see these murals and consider them with her. But if you're not, if you're listening while you're doing dishes, taking care of your 3rd child, driving somebody somewhere, or just, strolling the aisles at the grocery store, it always feels so decadent when I remember my headphones at Trader Joe's and I'm like listening to a favorite podcast while grocery shopping. It just takes the experience to the next level and makes it feel more like self-care than a task. Anyway, just a little hint from me to you. But let me describe this for you if you are picking up your, chopped salads and what are my favorite things to get at Trader Joe's? Oh my gosh, the pizzas. And there's something I'm going to try. Those mini cone, the hold the cone tips. That is something I'm going back for this week. And the frozen lobster. The frozen lobster that I like to put in their lobster bisque. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, I'll start a Trader Joe's podcast another day. So these 2 murals both have tropical themes. One is more of a true landscape with a horizon with lots of undulation. There's palms, there's flowers, there's one blue bird in the middle, there's hibiscus flowers. There appears to be a volcano in the misty background. It's all sort of greens and blues with these punches of red with the hibiscus flowers and these other small flowers. There's also some yellow flowers, I think. Anyway, it's a little bit more subtle because it does have this sort of misty background, whereas the second one reminds me a lot of the wallpaper. Was it in Blanche's room in Golden Girls that has those huge, almost fern-like palm fronds? And this also has a bird, but it's flying, and you can see less of the background and more of the foreground. There's just a lot of plant life in the foreground, so it's much greener, much bolder, things like that. Much more in your face. Now, this is a big statement for a dining room. This is a big statement for any room. I personally love a wallpaper mural, even though it kind of goes against what I typically say about, wallpapering only one wall. Looks like an accident wall, like where's the rest, right? And if you did have the inclination to mural the entire room, I think that would be fascinating, but also a heavy dose of these very busy images. I think it's a really fun, bold choice. You want to pick the wall strategically for a mural because you don't want a wall that's broken up by windows, doorways, lots of intricate molding. You want to be able to see the entire panorama almost as you would a piece of art, right? You'd hate to have a piece of art with a big old hole in it, in this case, a hole for a window. So I really want to be able to see the practically complete image. So not all walls are set up for this, especially if you have a lot of light switches, a lot of outlets, a thermostat, that could further gunk up your clean, beautiful, artistic image. And then this piece, without question, becomes your inspiration piece because there's so many colors, because it's so big, because it's so overpowering in terms of its imagery. This is not a bashful mural. And there are bashful murals that feel like a watercolor abstract or different things like this. And I've certainly used a variety of murals in my day, but these are really bold and they would serve not only as that inspiration piece from which all the colors in the room would be derived, but also, these have strong tropical themes. I don't know where you live, but if you put this tropical wallpaper in Indiana, you might look like you're trying a little hard in terms of pushing it in a direction that's counterintuitive to either the architecture or the place. You live in Tennessee. I'm not saying you have to do some kind of Appalachian landscape or something like that, but I just don't want it to look too forced. I think this could be fun, it could be playful, but it's a whole lot of look, and you've really got to embrace it with your other choices. So go back to that two-word phrase. What are you trying to get across with this imagery? What are you hoping to say with the entire room? And does this room open up into other rooms? Is it a dining room that opens up into a living room, such that we need to make sure that the themes and colors continue on, in which case that is a heavy dose of the tropical theme. These are all things I would be thinking about before I would purchase this particular mural, though I am absolutely, as you can hear, not opposed to murals. I've done the abstract ones, I've done maps, I've done this type of mural, which is more of a landscape. I think that there's lots of amazing applications for murals, and you just want to make sure that you check the boxes that I laid out. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.